Yeah, good evening everyone. Today's topic is input devices, output devices. What are input devices? What are output devices? And how we are going to use them, right? We all of us are using input devices and output devices whenever we use computers. But we should know like this is under computer applications, this is under this subject when you are studying about fundamentals of computer applications, right? So let's begin with the topic, that is input devices. So first of all, before starting to the what is input devices, what is input? Like input is any data or instructions entered into the computer. I want to give any instruction, I want to feed anything into the computer, so I will be taking it as input. And these are the instructions that are entered into the computer to perform any task. So instructions entered into the computer can be in the form of program, can be in the form of commands and user responses, right? So these are the various inputs. Like what are the forms of input? We may have various forms of input. People have variety of options available to input and instructions into the computer. So input is the information, the input is a command, input is the programs that is going to be entered into the computer, right? Now once we have understood what is input, right, the next thing is how we are going to input our data, how we are going to enter the instructions into the computer, that is through some devices. So let us start with this. What are input devices? Right, input device is any hardware components that allows users to enter the data or instructions to a computer. So depending upon your applications and your particular requirements, you are going to use the various input devices. It is like it is up to you. Maybe you have selected something like mouse I have selected, or I may be using keyboards. So according to your demand, it is up to you. So let's start with some what are the types of input devices. So there are number of input devices. Most of you have seen all these devices and you are using these devices for giving the instructions to the computer. One of them is keyboard. Everyone is using keyboard, right? But you should know this is an input device. You are sending some instructions to the computer and it is going to the CPU, right? And again, another input device is mouse, through which you can give the instructions to the computer. Microphone, like my voice is recorded, my voice is given to the computer using microphone. Then you may use a stylus or a digital pen to giving for giving an input, like while using your interactive panels, or you are using any like touch screens. How you are going to give the input? By touching the screen. It may be using digital pen, it may be you are using stylus. And then scanner, again you scan your information and it is going to be sent to the computer. So these are the some popular input devices which are basically used in our daily life, right? Let's start with the first thing, that is keyboard, right? Now what is keyboard? I told you there are number of devices, there are number of input devices through which you can give the instructions to the computer, right? Let us talk about how keyboards are used, what are the types of keyboards we have, what are the function keys, what are the keys that are available on keyboard. A keyboard is an input device. Basically, whenever you want to add something, whenever you want to type something, whenever you want to send some instructions, send some commands to the computer, you are going to use keyboard, right? Press anything on your keyboard, it is going to be sent to the computer as an instruction. So first of all, we need to understand what is the architecture, what is the hardware, what is the basically how we make the architecture of keyboard. The first thing is a typical keyboard has from 105 to 1 to 105 keys. So there are how many keys are present on the keyboard? Typically it is between 101 to 105, which are basically divided into three sections. What are those? First, on the tops of the keyboard, you have seen there are function keys, and there are 12 function keys there. Then we have numeric values. After that, we have a row that contains the numeric values. Then we have our alphabets and special keys, like you may have enter or shift or alt, and there are windows keys also. The number of keys that are available on keyboard. Now after this, you need to understand what is there are number of types of keyboards. Everyone is using keyboard, right? None of you I know about there are types of keyboards, how you are using the keyboards according to your requirement, right? So I am a teacher, or I am a student, or I am a research scholar, or I am in a teaching or education domain, right? So I may be using an alphanumeric keyboard which has some function keys, which has some numbers, which has some alphabets and special keys also, right? There are specialized keyboards also that are basically prepared for specific applications. They don't have such kind of keys which are basically not used for their requirement, for their purpose. So let us move to the next slide and understand what are alphanumeric keyboards and what are specialized keyboards. So when we talk about alphanumeric keyboard, like we are using, right, I am using, or students or research scholars, or you may any person, like those who are using for their own personal, like they have their personal computers and they have the keyboard, inbuilt keyboard in that. That is alphanumeric keyboard, right? You have some function keys, you have some alphanumeric characters, you have some cursor control keys, function keys, special function keys, or you may have this space bar, all these things, right? That is what we are using. But let us move to what are specialized keyboards. So basically, what are specialized keyboards? Specialized keyboards are those keyboards that are designed for some special purpose, for some specific applications, right? Suppose taking an example of retail keyboard. There is some restaurant owner and who is going to generate the receipts or generate the you may say bills. That requires a special type of keyboard in which they have their inbuilt keys. You need to just press it and they will generate the bills and like this. So they are meant for that purpose only, for that specific purpose only. Next we have braille keyboard. Braille keyboard is basically designed for blind people, right? Like our alphanumeric keyboards, they are not able to type the keys because they are not able to see it. So specialized keyboards are used by the blind peoples so that they can type, they can basically use the keyboards, they can use the computers, right? And this is very very helpful for them for typing the program, for sending the documents, or for basically preparing the documents also. Because they have to have some expressions, they have some different key expressions, like anything is like ASD, like numbers, or like this type of characters are not pressed, are not printed. They have their own some expressions that have like some bold type of dots, or some more dots, or some heavy dots, some thick dots are there on the keyboard so that they can understand the different alphabets. So they have their own alphabets, like their learning power is different. So this is very very helpful, the specialized keyboard, for those kind of people. Then another device, another input device is mouse. So what is mouse? Everybody is using mouse. You have different keys on mouse. You have different buttons on mouse. You have even you can scroll bar on mouse. Nowadays there are types of mouses. You may use with a wire. You may use with wireless mouse, or like it is an input device, right? You push the mouse, you can control the cursor on the screen with the help of your mouse. So the basically a mouse is a pointing device that fits comfortably under the palm of your hand, and you have different buttons that are on the mouse. You may use it for left click, you may use it for double click. So there are different functions that can be performed through mouse. The mouse is the most widely used pointing device on desktop system. Yes, it is very very important. You should know it is an input device. You can send the commands, you can send the instruction to the computer with the help of mouse, right? And again I'm repeating, there are types of mouses. There could be wireline mouse, there could be wireless mouse. So you have wired mouses where you have to attach the wire to your PCs or to your laptops, and then you can use the input device, that is mouse. Whereas when we have a wireless type of thing, you may directly connect with this pin. This is the pin to connect the wireless mouse. Just add this connect this pin to the PC, and then you can have the wireless mouse which is being operated, right? Which can be used as your input device. The most important thing, the mouse was created by Douglas Engelbart in 1960s. So you should know also like who has developed the mouse. Let us move to the types of mouses. A mechanical mouse has a rubber or metal ball on its underside. An optical mouse uses, yes, light. Uses devices that emit and sense light to detect mouse movement. So you may have their in their architecture also in their hardware when we develop such kind of mouse, when we manufacture such kind of mouse, we may have a mechanical or we may have a optical mouses. If a rubber or a metal ball is placed under the mouse, that is a mechanical mouse. If we have an optical mouse, we have like I can show you also in the later classes, like a light is blinking, that is uh, behind that part, right? And it is basically it is telling you the mouse motions, movements, what are the uh, movements of the mouse. So basically it is like that only. You may have a uh, wireless mouse like this, and with this you may have this kind of pin. This pin is needs to be attached to your PC, and this is the mouse, and this is a basically optical mouse. It has light under, like on this side a light is there, no ball. This is not a mechanical mouse, this is basically an optical mouse, right? Then we have other pointing devices too. Let me tell you what are the other pointing devices. The mouse is most widely used pointing device. So there there are other devices also, but only the thing is the mouse is most widely used pointing device. Whereas we have other pointing devices like trackball, touchpad. Again I'm telling you, you have touch screens or touchpad through which you can send the input. Pointing stick and light pen also. So these are the pointing devices as well as the input devices. This is again, there is a trackball which is used to give the input to the computer. It is similar to your mechanical mouse when we have a ball inside it. It's a kind of that has a ball on the bottom. The trackball is a stationary pointing device with ball on its top. So you can give the instruction through by pressing the movement of that ball. Then we have touchpads. It is like your touch screen, like your mobile screen. You touch something, you select something, and you give instructions to the mobile, and it is going to perform the following functions. Like suppose I want to unlock my phone, I'm going to type the pattern, I'm going to put the fingerprint, or I'm going to give my face recognition to open that phone. So I may be using the touchpads. Then we have a pointing stick. Pointing stick is again, you need to, like if you are going to give any input just on the touch screen, you may use pointing stick to give the input. A pointing stick is a pressure sensitive pointing device shaped like a pencil eraser that is positioned between keys on a laptop keyboard. So it is again a pointing device and it is an input device. Light pen, the most widely used, you may say, after mouse and keyboards. Light pens are also used to give the input. It is hand handled input device that can detect the presence of light. Some light pen require specially designed monitors while others work with standard monitors. So most of the things, like with standard monitors, we can also use light pens. Then we have scanners. I told you scanners again, if I want to scan any document, any picture, any signatures, I may be using the scanner. So scanner is again an input device, a light sensing input device that reads printed text and graphics and then translates the results into form the computer can process. So again, this is an pointing, this is an input device, this is an input device, right? So we have learned about the number of input devices, right? Now let us move to the next part. uh, that is joystick. Joystick is a vertical stick used to control the movement of the cursor. Again, it is an input device that can be used to give an input to the user. Now, moving to the next part, that is output devices. We have learned about input devices. Let us move to the output devices. What are output devices and how you are getting the output from the user. So, like I am going to show, I am sharing my the content over a monitor, right, and it is displayed to number of users, or I am going to use there a number of output devices for showing the output, like your printer, your monitors, your speakers, from where you are getting the sounds. So an output device is any hardware component that conveys information to one or more people. When you are getting the information, that means you are getting through output device, some output is coming. So three commonly used output devices are printer, monitor and speaker. So they in input devices also we have seen there are, uh, the most commonly used input devices are mouse and keyboard. Everyone, like without this nobody is able to use the computer. Yeah, sometimes your mouse gets, like mouse is not working, it's very difficult to operate the computer with keyboard. So it's better to have the most useful, most commonly used input devices as well as output devices. Without monitor, I'm not going to work, right? Why? Because no output is coming. Without printer, like sometimes you are typing, you are typing the document, you are typing the paper for students. If I don't have printer, how I am going to give the paper to the student in a hard copy, right? Again, the speakers, if I am giving some lectures, how they are going to listen. So these are the most commonly used input as well as moving to the output devices. Let us see. So what are the output devices? They are on my screen. An output device is any hardware component, the device that receive information through the input devices. So there is a communication between input and output devices. Input device takes the input, it gives the input to the computer, and output device just takes the input and accordingly it performs the give you the output, right? Like suppose you have printer, so I'm sending the command to the printer, right? It is going to print the document, or I'm displaying some content on my screen, that is using monitor. Webcam capturing something, it is showing the pictures. Then speaker, something like your sound is coming. Headphone, there are number of output devices. The most popularly used output devices are monitor, speaker and printer. So let's move to the first output device that is most commonly used is monitors, right? Monitors is one of the, like earlier we used to have such kind of huge system which is basically heavy also. It has its own advantages. and such kind of systems are used. Monitor is one of the most important output device, the device that shows the output on screen, and it is also called VDU. VDU is what? Video display unit, through which the input device called the monitor. So the different types of monitors are LCD, LEDs, right? Later on we have, they are available in different sizes as well, right? Then we have printers, right? In printers you may have lasers, ink printer, or you may have simple printers, you may have dot matrix printers, you may have color printers. Number of printers are used in that case also. Next we have speakers. What are speakers? Speaker is also one of the output device, the device that through you can hear something, right? A sound is coming and it is giving you an output, right? You are recording your voice, recording out audios, and at the same place video conferencing. These are some examples of speakers, right? So whenever we have information to be give as an input to the user, we may be using the input device. Whereas when we have some output to be displayed or output to be shown, that is to output devices, right? So I'm going to give you a brief picture of this. Let us do that. So you may say, when we talk about the input devices are what? These are the most popularly used input devices. What are those? I told you they are keyboards and mouse, right? And whereas when we have the output devices, yeah, this is the thing I want to show you. Make it clear, like these are the input devices and they are most commonly used input devices also. What are those most commonly used? You have keyboards, you have mouse, you have microphone. So, and nowadays, like I am using interactive panels, right? For interactive panels I may use my finger also to write on interactive panels, right? And basically they have some softwares. I use stylus for that, right? And it's a very very nice experience, very very good experience to use the interactive panels. Why? I would say it's a very good input device. The students are able to understand through it, the first reason. At the same time, like I am going online through the interactive panel and opening the documents over there, right? And the next thing is the most important, you can save your whatever, like it's there is boards also available. That is some board is there, easy board, and it is giving you, like I am whatever I am storing it, I am sharing my notes there, and it is going to have that part also, like it is saving those notes also, so the next day the student can refer it. So what is this? This is an input device, right? At the same time, when they are basically showing the output, it is used for output. So basically giving an input through stylus is an input device, because stylus is an input device. Showing through, like I am using whiteboard, or this is an output device which is showing the output as well, right? So this is most commonly used input devices are keyboard, mouse, microphone and stylus. There are a number of other devices like digital pen, scanner, trackball, joystick. You have other devices also. At the same time, when we talk about output devices are again like your monitors. Monitors are of different types. Again, I would say I will refer to this picture. Let me show you that picture, because it is very very important to know what are the number of output devices we have. That is webcam, microphone, printer, and again this printer is available in different types according to your requirement. Like if you are printing 1000 pages per day, so you may be referring to some black and white printer. But if you have some only 2 to 3 documents and it is of high quality and should be colored, so you may be using some colored printers, right? Again, nowadays these printers are available in multi-functional aspects also. Like I can copy, I can scan, I can print within that particular using that particular device. So it is treated as a like the three in one. You may have multifunctional printers. Again, moving to the next part, next output device, that is monitor. Monitor, you have different types, different make of that. Like I may be using LCDs, I may be using LEDs, right? For they for that is basically according to your requirement. So if you want to have your and your this monitors that are easy to use and portable, you may be using, or you want some lightweight screens, so it is according to your requirement, you may be choosing the monitors. Then we have speakers. So like if you are using some you are doing some video conferencing, or like we are taking some I am giving something, and it should be or in a webinars also we are going to use this. So there are number of applications according to your requirement, you are going to choose that particular part. And different companies, different makes, different brands are there for making these hardware devices also. So this is very very important. Like we all are using such devices, either it is input or output devices, but you should know their names, and you should know like we are giving some input to the computer, we are giving some instructions, we are giving some commands to the computer using input devices. Whereas like for output devices we may have some, it basically receives the information and it gives you the output. Like it's showing some information on my screen, so what is it? It is an output device, right? And suppose I'm saying I'm sending one document for printing, was what is it? It is printer, right? So this is how you need to know this thing. They are segregated into two parts, one is input and the other one is output device, right? So in the coming lectures we will be going through other parts also, what are the functional units of computer, how this information, like I am going to give an input to the computer, how this is processed, what is the memory, what is the mind, you may say, how the computer becomes intelligent to perform, to process our information, and it gives the accurate results, how it is done actually. So in the later series we will be having such kind of videos on which we will be learning about the topics, about the functional units of computer, or you may say what are the different types of registers we may have, what are the storage devices we may have in computers, how these registers are accessed, how these registers are maintaining the information. So everything is there, and we will be learning in the later series. Okay, thank you.